4 people, 1 table, 1 simple question. Who looks like they are lying? Not who I is lying. Who looks like they are? Because here is what makes this different from every other test you have taken. The person you point to right now will not tell me anything about them. It will tell me everything about you, about the specific kind of deception your nervous system was trained, early, quietly, without your permission, to watch for. We all have a lie detector. It was not something we chose to build. Life built it for us. Every broken promise, every smile that came before betrayal, every moment someone looked us in the eye and said one thing while doing another, all of it got stored inside the body. And now, without even thinking about it, your eyes scan every room, every face, every posture for the specific signal that once told you, be careful. Something is not right here. Carl Jung called this the wound that becomes a lens. What hurt us most becomes what we look for most, not because we are paranoid, not because we are damaged, but because the mind is trying to protect us from the same pain happening twice. So what you are about to do is not a simple test. It is an honest conversation between you and the part of yourself that has been watching people very carefully for a very long time. Before we begin, I want to ask you to do something. Let your body soften slightly. Nothing is required of you here. No right answer. No wrong answer. Just honesty. In a moment, you will see 4 people sitting at a table. Look at them. Do not analyze. Do not think about what your choice might say about you. Just look at their posture, their eyes, their energy, and let your gut give you its honest answer. Who looks like they are not being fully truthful? Take your time. And when you have your number, stay with us. Because what comes next may describe something about you that has never been put into words before. If the first person caught your eye, the man in the suit, hands folded, posture composed, gaze controlled and deliberate, then your lie detector is tuned to a very specific and very sophisticated frequency. You are not fooled by polish. You never were. While other people see someone confident and professional, you see something else entirely. You see the effort behind the composure, the tightness in the jaw that does not match the relaxed hands, the calculated quality of a gaze that is too steady, held a second too long, as if it is performing sincerity rather than simply feeling it. You notice that something in a presentation is slightly too perfect, and perfect, to you, has always felt like a warning. This is not cynicism. This is intelligence shaped by experience. Because somewhere in your past, someone who looked exactly like this, composed, reliable, trustworthy on the surface, turned out to be the one who was not fully honest with you. Maybe it was not a dramatic betrayal. Maybe it was a quiet one, a pattern of things that were not quite said, of truths withheld behind a very reasonable-sounding explanation, of someone who was always calm, always in control, always presenting the right version of themselves, until something slipped and you saw what was underneath. And what was underneath was not what the surface had promised. Carl Jung wrote about what he called the persona, the carefully constructed mask we present to the world. The suit, in many ways, is the perfect symbol of the persona. It says, I am organized. I am trustworthy. I have myself together. I am exactly what you need me to be. And for most people, that message lands without question. But not for you. Your nervous system learned early that the most dangerous lies are not told by people who look dishonest. They are told by people who have worked very hard to look honest, by people whose control is not natural ease. It is management. It is a performance of reliability by someone who knows exactly what reliability looks like from the outside. You have a gift. Because of this, you are almost impossible to charm on the surface level. Smooth people make you more suspicious, not less. Polished presentations make you look harder, not feel safer. The more someone tries to appear trustworthy, the more carefully you watch for what they are trying to keep you from seeing. But here's the shadow that lives inside this gift. Because your detector was calibrated by someone who wore composure as a mask, you sometimes misread calm people. Not every control person is hiding something. Some people are simply private. Some people hold themselves together because they are genuinely careful, not because they are deceptive. And there are moments when your radar fires on people who do not deserve a suspicion, when the suit becomes a trigger rather than a signal. The question your nervous system is asking right now, though it may not have the words for it yet. Is this, can I learn to tell the difference between someone who is composed because they have something to hide and someone who is composed because that is simply who they are? Because the person who deceived you once was wearing this posture. But not everyone wearing this posture is that person. Your discernment is extraordinary. The growth is in learning where it serves you and where it keeps you at a distance from people who actually deserve your trust. If the second person stopped your eye first, the man in gray, shoulders carrying something invisible, gaze going somewhere else, a quietness in his posture that reads less like peace and more like retreat, then your sensitivity to deception runs very deep. You do not catch people in lies through logic. You catch them through feeling. You notice something in this person that most people would not even register. Not a dramatic signal. Not something obvious. Just a quality. A heaviness. The particular way the body holds itself when inside does not match what is being presented on the outside. When someone is present in a room, but quietly somewhere else entirely. You have a word for this, even if you have never said it out loud. You call it absence. The kind of absence that comes when someone is pretending to be fine, when they are performing okayness, when they are sitting at the table and nodding and responding, but their actual self, the one that is carrying something, is not in the room at all. And the reason you see this so clearly is because you have lived it, not necessarily as a performer of it, but as someone who has been on the other side of it, who has sat across from someone who seemed absent, physically present but emotionally somewhere else, and felt, without being able to explain it, that something was wrong, that something was being withheld, that the space between you was full of something neither of you was naming. Maybe that person was a parent who was there, but not really there. Maybe it was a partner who kept reassuring you, while something in their body told a different story. Maybe it was a friend who said all the right things, and you still left every conversation feeling vaguely unseen. Jung described this as the gap between the word and the energy. When language and presence are misaligned, when what someone says is technically true, but what they carry tells a different story. You've been reading that gap your whole life. You just did not always have the language to describe what you were reading. Your sensitivity to silent absence, to the person who is physically there but emotionally retreated, is one of the most precise forms of emotional intelligence that exists. It is not something most people have. It is something that gets built through years of paying careful attention to the unspoken. But here is what this sensitivity costs you, because you're so attuned to quiet withdrawal, to the sadness that hides in stillness, to the heaviness that shows up in how someone carries their posture. You sometimes feel responsible for what you sense. You feel like if you can see it, you should do something about it. Hold space for it. Fix it. Ask the right question that will finally open the door. And sometimes you carry the weight of what you perceive in others long after they have stopped carrying it themselves. The growth is this. Sensing something in someone does not make your burden to carry. Your perception is a gift. Your responsibility is only to your own honesty, not to the unspoken heaviness of every person who walks into your space. You saw the gray, and what you saw in it is real. But what is more real is the depth of attention you bring to every relationship you walk into. That attention, when turned toward yourself and not only toward others, is where your truest peace lives. If the third person is who your eyes move to, the man in the black hoodie, arms folded, jaw set, a wall of energy that says do not come closer without having sent a single word, then your lie detector works through a different signal entirely. You read defensiveness, not anger, not hostility, not aggression in the obvious sense, but the specific energy of someone who is protecting something, whose body is saying, I am not going to let you in, whose posture is a closed door long before you have even knocked. And to you, that closed door is suspicious, not because you think closed people are bad, but because you have learned through real experience, not theory, that the people who close themselves most tightly are sometimes the ones with the most to hide, that the arms crossed hard across the chest can be armor around something they do not want examined, that the refusal to soften, to open, to allow the ordinary vulnerability of simply sitting without guarding yourself, can sometimes mean there is something being guarded. You have felt this energy before, up close, in a relationship or a situation where someone's distance was not simply personality, it was protection, where the wall was not just introversion, it was concealment, where the guarded quality that you initially mistook for mystery turned out to be the place where the untrue things lived. And so now, when you see that posture, the folded arms, the hard jaw, the refusal to be readable, something that goes quiet and watchful, not afraid, but alert, there is a specific kind of intelligence in this. You are not taken in by charm, because charm does not interest you much. You are not taken in by smooth words, because you are already reading the body. You see the contradiction between what someone says and how they hold themselves. You notice when the energy in the room does not match the words being spoken in it. But here's the shadow that lives in this particular radar. Because your detector was built by someone whose walls were hiding something real, you sometimes read protection as deception. And those are not the same thing. Some people close themselves not because they are lying, but because they are afraid, because they have been hurt, because they learned that opening up meant getting burned. And so they build a structure around themselves not to deceive anyone, but simply to survive. And sometimes the person whose posture looks the most offended is the most honest person in the room, because they have not learned to perform openness. They cannot pretend to be comfortable when they are not. Their walls are not manipulation. They are simply the only language they have for saying, I do not feel safe yet. Your growth is in learning to ask the question, is this person hiding something from me, or are they hiding something from themselves? And are those walls a sign of deception or a sign of a wound that is not yet healed?
Because the man in the hoodie may be the most honest person at the table. Not in spite of those walls. Sometimes because of them. If the fourth person is the one who made something tighten in you, the woman at the end, completely relaxed, soft smile, chin resting on her hand, unbothered in a room where 3 other people are clearly carrying something, then your liar detector runs on the most subtle and sophisticated frequency of all. You are suspicious of ease. Not all ease, but the specific kind that does not fit the room, that arrives too smoothly, that stays too consistent, that does not shift or adjust or register what is happening around it in the way that honest presence always does. While everyone else is looking at crossed arms and averted eyes, you are looking at the smile, the relaxed posture, the sense of someone who is completely comfortable when comfort does not quite make sense in context. And you are asking quietly with no drama, why is this person so fine? What does this person know that we do not? Or what is this person feeling that they have decided none of us are going to be allowed to see? Jung described this as the shadow of the helper, the person who always appears light, always brings warmth, always seems genuinely okay, because they have learned, somewhere deep and early, that their real emotional state is not welcome in the room, that being heavy is a burden on others, that taking up emotional space with difficulty or confusion or genuine struggle makes you less lovable, less safe, less easy to be around. And so they practice ease. They refine it. They become very, very good at it. The smile becomes genuine on the outside even when something underneath it is not at rest. The warmth becomes real even when it is also, quietly, a wall. The lightness becomes a gift they give to every room they walk into, and simultaneously a way of ensuring that no one ever asks them how they are really doing. You see this because some part of you has done exactly this. Not necessarily now. Maybe a version of you from earlier. The you that learned to stay bright because brightness was rewarded. The you that learned to keep things light because heavy was too expensive. The you that became so skilled at being okay that people stopped checking whether you actually were. You spotted her because you know what that ease costs. You know what lives underneath it. Not because she is lying to you, but because you understand the specific kind of performance that looks the most like truth. The performance of not performing. And the question this recognition places in your hands is one of the most honest ones you will ever hold. Where in your own life are you still performing ease? Not for manipulation, not to deceive anyone deliberately, but simply because showing the real weight feels like too much to ask of the people who have come to rely on your lightness? Your growth is not to stop being warm. Your warmth is real and it is a gift. Your growth is to let someone, one person, just one, see the version of you that is not so easily fine. To let the smile be real and also, sometimes, to let it fall. To discover that the people who deserve to be close to you can hold both. You saw through the easiest mask in the room. That is not nothing. That is everything. Whatever number you chose, whatever face your gut landed on in that very first second. I want you to hold something before we close. You were not reading them. You were reading yourself. The specific signal that activated your nervous system, the particular posture or expression or energy that made something in you go quiet and watchful, that signal was built by something real. By a real experience, a real relationship, a real moment when someone's body and someone's truth were not aligned, and you were the one who felt the gap before you could name it. That is not damage. That is data. It is the record your body has been keeping carefully on your behalf for every moment you were in a room with someone who was not being fully honest. Carl Jung said that we do not see the world as it is. We see it as we are. The liar we look for in others is always, first, a map of the betrayal that taught us to look. And the most powerful thing we can do with that map is not throw it away, but learn to read it with greater and greater accuracy. To know when it is firing a genuine warning, and when it is replaying an old wound onto a new face that does not deserve it. You have a rare gift, the ability to read what is not being said, to feel what is not being shown, to sit in a room full of carefully managed presentations and sense the gap between the person and the performance. Use it with wisdom, use it with compassion, and every now and then use it on yourself, because the question that will free you the most is not who is lying to you. It is where, quietly and without meaning to, you have been less than fully honest with yourself. That question, sat with long enough, changes everything. Drop your number in the comments. Tell us which person caught your eye and whether what you just heard landed somewhere real. And if this kind of mirror is what you are looking for, subscribe. Because this is exactly what we do here. Every week, a new image, a new reflection, a different angle on the most interesting question you will ever spend your life answering. Who are you really? We will see you in the next one.